Hi, and thank you for joining me. My name is Mary. Welcome to your practice. This practice is great if you're just getting back into yoga. Maybe if you sit at a desk a lot, just kind of loosening up all those parts that get stiff during the day. You might use blocks or a foam roller, but not necessary. Through your practice, remember to take care of yourself. So if something doesn't feel right in your body, definitely stop. So let's get started. Just take a few moments just to settle into your practice. So if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, you can do so. Otherwise, just drop your gaze and take a few moments to take in your surroundings. Just noticing any sounds. And perhaps notice any sensations that you're experiencing. Could be warmth or coolness. And then any sensations that you're experiencing in your body. And noting if you have any particularly sore or stiff spots, just make a note and remember to take care of yourself as you practice. Begin to notice your breath, just noticing where it is right now. Throughout practice, I'll be cueing breath, saying inhale when we do this, exhale when we do this. If you're on a breath that's different than me, don't worry. The important thing is to keep breathing. So let's take 3 breaths, maybe expanding your breathing space a little bit, starting from your low belly, expanding there, opening your ribs, bringing the air up almost to your collarbones, and then sighing out. Notice as you're taking your breath in, straightening your spine, creating more space, and then exhaling again. Let's do one more of those. Just thinking about your body breathing in 3D, expanding as you inhale and exhale. And so let's begin. If you've closed your eyes, you can open them. Let's just start with some tiny shoulder rolls. You could have your hands on your knees. And I mean really tiny, getting a feel for where your shoulders are, maybe reversing those circles. Just kind of using your intuition to see how it feels good for you to move. And then we'll do just a couple of neck stretches. So first bring your left ear towards your left shoulder and just move your chin around. Make some micro adjustments with your chin to see if you can find any stiff or tight spots on the opposite side of your neck. And as you're exploring, taking note to stay connected with your breath. Just breathing in and out. And then we'll roll the chin down towards the chest. Sit up tall, shoulders down and back. Let's take 2 breaths here. And then we're just going to roll to the other side. So bringing right ear towards right shoulder. Just taking a moment to pause and then maybe making some micro adjustments with your chin to explore the opposite side of the neck. And remembering to focus on your breath. When you exhale, bring your chin towards chest one more time. Sit up tall, shoulders down and back. And then with a breath in, let your chin come up. So option to use a foam roller. If you don't have a foam roller, a rolled up blanket would do. Or you can just lie on your back. What we're going to do is just spend a moment just opening up the chest area before we do any more larger movements. So you'll have your butt and your head on the foam roller. My foam roller has bumps, but you don't necessarily need bumps. It does feel like a nice massage on my back. So we're just going to do a couple of snow angels. The object isn't to get your arms down to the ground. It's just to feel an opening and release in your chest area. So you could move your hands up towards your head and down, your elbows down towards your hips, or just stay in one spot. And wherever you are, we'll take 3 rounds of breath. You can also get a foam roller that's cut in half. You can purchase those. That gives you a little more stability, so it's really up to you what feels best for your needs right now. And you can stay on the roller as long as feels good. But we'll roll off right now. And we'll come to an all fours position. As you're coming to all fours or tabletop, spread your fingers wide, wrists right underneath shoulders. Your knees can be about hip width distance apart, but feel stable in your stance. So I'll lead you through a series of poses called Chakravakasana. So we'll start by bringing chest forward and tailbone up, thinking of having like a sway in your back, and then rounding, chin towards chest, arching your spine like a cat, and then sinking just a little bit towards child's pose. We'll just stay for a moment and then come back through all fours. So once you have the movements down, we'll start to incorporate breath. So taking a breath in as you bring chest forward, tailbone up for cow pose, and then letting that breath go, exhaling, rounding your spine, and then sinking down towards child's pose. Big breath in as you come through all fours back to cow pose. So let's do a couple of those in your own time, following your breath. Using this time as an opportunity as you move through these poses to notice again if there's any parts of your body that are feeling stiff or sore, and taking care of yourself as you practice. Let's do one more breath in and feeling the release of your exhale, and then come back to all fours. We'll move to a seated pose. You could have your legs in front of you if that's comfortable. Cross-legged works as well. So bring your arms out in front of you. Give yourself a hug. You could place your hands on your shoulders to kind of anchor your shoulders down. You might already be feeling an opening in your upper back. So this might be enough for this series. If you feel like you want a little bit more of a stretch, or you feel like you're not quite getting a stretch in your upper back, bring your chin towards your chest, and I'm going to lean forward, and then open up to cactus arms. We're going to switch which arm is on top, so make that switch. Chin towards chest, fold, and then let's start to get our breath involved. So your breath in as you open up, exhaling as you hug, chin towards chest and round. Remembering to switch your arms. Let's do one more on each side. And you can let your hands come down. Let's transition back to all fours. Spreading your fingers wide again. And then we'll step one foot back so the ball of your foot is on the mat. And just do a little rock back and forth just to feel an opening in your calf muscle. You're welcome to stay here. Another option is to lift your opposite arm out in front of you, just like you're shaking somebody's hand right in front. Notice if you're looking up at your video, see if you can look down at your mat so that your neck is nice and long. So now stretch the crown of your head forward and stretch your foot back. You might stay here, or you may lift your back leg up, drawing your belly in towards your spine, feeling the length in your spine. Let's take 2 rounds of breath here. We'll come back to all fours. Take a little lean into child's pose. Give your wrists a break by rolling them out. And then we'll come back to all fours. Let's do the same thing on the opposite side. So stretching opposite leg back. Just do a little rock, just to kind of open up the area of the calf. Coming back to center, reaching right arm up, neutral neck. Perhaps staying here or lifting your back leg up. And allowing yourself to take some nice, easy breaths in and out. You can always, if you've lifted your leg up, you can always let it go back down, belly to spine. And then we'll come back to all fours, sink towards child's pose. Give your wrists a little break. Back to all fours. Curl your toes. We're just going to do a very modified downward dog. So scooch your knees up towards your hands. Knees can stay bent. And we're just going to use this as an opportunity to walk our feet up towards our hands. Come to a half lift. So crown of your head forward, flat back. Let yourself fold, but have your knees bent. It might be nice to have blocks. Let your head be heavy, neck relaxed. Breath in and out, and then we're going to slowly rise up, and we'll come to standing. So let's take a moment in mountain pose. So feel your feet grounded. You could rock a little bit on your feet forward and back, side to side. Take a moment to check in with your knees, finding some softness in your knees. So sometimes there's a tendency to lock the knees. You don't necessarily want them bent, but find a spot where it feels like your feet are really grounded. And this might be something you might experiment with in your daily life. So now take a breath in to expand your spine. Let your shoulders be soft. And then crown of your head lifted. Let's take 2 breaths here. It's feeling like your skeleton is doing the work. Just maybe noticing some of the micro adjustments your body makes to stand up, but feeling openness in your heart. Okay, so now we'll transition. We'll come to a chair pose exercise. So bring your hands towards your heart. We're going to sink into chair pose. So kicking your hips back, weight in your heels, heart open. So squatting down. And then we're just going to open up to cactus arms as you stand up. And then once you get the movement, exhaling, hands to heart. And opening up to cactus. And then follow your breath, exhaling as you come to chair, inhaling as you open and expand. Let's do 2 more. And then you can let your hands come down. So let's bring our feet a little bit wider than hips, toes pointing slightly out. We're just going to do some little mini squats. You can even have your hands on your thighs just to feel out your hip joint. So let's kind of do a couple of those. And then bring your hands to your heart. Squat down as comfortable, so don't overdo it. And then we're going to straighten legs and open up to star pose. So exhaling as you lower. Inhaling as you rise. So let's do a couple of those. Maybe you go a little bit lower, maybe not, but keep your chest up. And one more, open up. And then you can bring your hands to your hips and just heel toe your feet together. Let's come to your mat, sweep your arms up, and then we're going to fold down And we're going to step one leg back, and you can have your knee down. This might be a spot where blocks are nice. We'll just do a little lean forward and back just to feel out your hip joint. You can stay here. Another option might be to rise up with hands on hips. So again, leaning forward and back just a little bit. Perhaps opening up the front of the hip, you might have some other muscles that are tight. So just thinking about loosening up all this area in the hip girdle. And then you can stay right here. Maybe your arms lift if that feels okay. Maybe some lateral bends might feel good. This is a place to explore. So maybe a little twisting, leaning motion might feel good. So just feel and explore where you need to open up in that area. And we'll come back to center, and then we'll switch legs. So bring your other foot forward, bent knee, kind of starting some small explorations first. Maybe lifting your arms up. Lateral bends might feel good. If your knee feels like it's a little too much pressure, you can always put some padding on a blanket or fold up your mat a little bit to give some extra support. But just use this time to explore. And then we can step that foot back. We'll take a sink into child's pose for a couple breaths. You can have your knees wide or close. There's options. So if your knees are wide, you could come to a standard child's pose. It might feel nice to have a block underneath your forehead so that your neck can soften. You might decide to have your knees close and let your arms come to your sides. Again, a block might be nice to give yourself a little extra support. And then we'll transition to our back. So as you're coming to your back, have your knees up, hands on your knees, so your arms are straight. Now take a breath in with your arms straight, and then as you exhale, draw your knees towards your chest. And then inhale, arms straight. And then follow your breath for a couple times. And then feet down. Keep one knee bent, one leg straight. Bring your arms out to your side. What we're going to do is we're going to roll towards the side. So opening up the low back area. You might feel a stretch in your upper shoulder. So if that feels like a lot, you can keep your top arm over. But if you feel like you want that stretch, you can open up like a book. Sometimes it's nice to place your opposite hand on opposite knee just to get a little bit more of an opening. So experiment, and then once you found your spot, let's take 2 rounds of breath in and out, and in and out, and then come to your back, draw your knees into your chest, and then just take a little, let your feet down and just let your knees rock from side to side. And then we'll move to the opposite side. So opposite leg straight, crossing your leg over, deciding what you want to do with your top hand. Maybe it's too much for your shoulder, but if you want that shoulder stretch, you can open up. Maybe your opposite hand comes to opposite knee. Just have a sense of release and letting go. Following the flow of your breath. And then come back to center. Draw your knees towards your chest again. And then feet on the ground. Just do a little rock from side to side. And then cross one ankle over the opposite knee. You could stay here. You might lift your foot off the ground. The other option is to thread your hands through the little triangle in your leg and hold on to the lifted leg. And then once you're here, you also have options. It might feel good to rock from side to side so that you can perhaps isolate any areas that are particularly tight. You can explore what it feels like to have a straight leg. Maybe it feels good to roll your ankles. Wherever you're at, just start to tune into your breath. Just following the flow in and out. And then we'll come back to center, both feet down, and then cross the opposite foot over opposite knee, and then decide which version feels best for you. Maybe you lift the foot off the ground, perhaps holding on to your thigh. You decide, and then for deciding if stillness is a good option for you, or if you'd like to rock from side to side. Exploring your body and what you need. So using the options that I give as a starting point and letting yourself explore intuitively what you need for your body. Checking in with your breath, following the flow. And then come back to center, both feet down. Just draw one knee towards your chest. You could straighten the opposite leg, both knees to chest. Stretching out. And then take a full body stretch. And then come to a resting position. So it could be Shavasana with your palms up and your legs in a V. But if that doesn't feel comfortable, just come to a position where you can find stillness. And we'll just take a moment just to allow the practice to settle in. So if it's comfortable for you to close your eyes, you can do so. Take in your surroundings, just noticing what's around your space, sounds. Perhaps taking a moment of gratitude for thanking yourself for taking the time to take care of yourself today. Noticing all of the points of your body that are connecting with your mat. And after you bring that awareness, just having a sense of settling in to those spots. Just take a moment to notice your breath. And just take a couple of breaths, thinking about moving your breath from the crown of your head down to your feet. So take a breath in and out. Another breath in, and then as you exhale, imagine that air moving from the crown of your head all the way down to your toes. And then breath in from toes all the way to the crown of the head. So let's take a couple of breaths like that, exhaling crown to toes, Inhaling toes to crown, and follow your own breath. And then come back to your natural cadence of breathing. Start to make some small movements with fingers and toes, gradually making larger movements, blinking your eyes open if they're still closed, and then transitioning to a seat. When you arrive, if it's comfortable for you to draw your hands to your heart, you can do so. Thank you so much for joining me and practicing with me today, for sharing your presence and your light. I bow in gratitude. Namaste.